Adrienne Rabena, I'm so excited to be chatting with you today because you have been blowing up my DMs since I think April of 2020 when you first joined Story Vault, and you've been keeping me up to date with what's happened with your Instagram, but also your business. And then in November, my jaw dropped when you told me that your business hit six figures because of Instagram. So
Yes.
I'm so excited to get your full story and showcase you to my audience because I know you're already so inspiring to me and to other people as well. So, before we get into the nitty gritty of your crazy success with Instagram, first of all, tell me, what is your business all about? What's your business background?
Yeah. Our business is all about helping people fall in love with teaching barre and teaching fitness and falling in love with that instructor lifestyle. And then the piece that I think is really important that is often missed in my industry is helping people make money at this type of work. And we do that in a number of ways. So we've set up our online business kind of like it's a boutique fitness studio. We have classes, we have events and workshops that we put on, and we have our online teacher training course. And the only product we sell is a manual, which is a supplement to our course that sometimes people like to buy separately. So that's the kind of overview of the business. And I'd say that the people who tend to be drawn to our work are people who are already instructors, like have dabbled in the fitness industry, or are very interested in leaning into that and maybe turning it into a hobby job or part-time career or a full-time career.
Okay,
So yeah, so that's like the overview.
got it.
And
So,
then
so,
yeah,
so
go
just
ahead.
so I'm clear, you are helping people learn bar fitness, or are you helping bar instructors grow their business?
That's a good question. Both.
Okay.
Both. It's like we kind of dabble in the art and science of teaching because that is the foundation of being successful and growing your business in the online fitness world and in the like physical in-person fitness world. But also now that we're in the online space, giving instructors tools to be able to grow their businesses either in the online space or in person, or for many people is both, being in both, having a foot in both world at the same time.
Got it. And so have you always been an online business, or was there a time where you had a studio or and you were just all
Yeah.
local?
No, being an online business is really new. And I think that's why I've been blowing up your DMs because I feel like, well, I know that your tools have helped us actually be successful in the online world. And we'll go into those details later. But we just started my Instagram account in late January. I had just launched a new series on Aloe Moves, and I was getting all of these followers and all these interests. And I was like, hey, maybe I should start my own account so I have a space that's just for barre, right? And we started it in late January. And then in March, when everything shut down, we said, okay, we're going to host our first online class. And then here we are 8 months later, and we're a six-figure business purely from Instagram. We don't have any other social outlets that we're using. And we don't have any local community that we're speaking to. So, brand new to the online world. And we were in the physical space. So I'll just give you kind of the Cliff Notes version. I worked in the corporate world for just a few years out of college. I studied economics. And then, similar to most people who go on this path, I took a in-person yoga teacher training program, and I was like, I want to do this work, right? So I left my corporate job, and that was about 10 years ago, and I've been self-employed ever since. But the thing that's really hard for yoga and fitness teachers is to make a living. And I'm someone who, I'm kind of more, I have an entrepreneurial spirit, but I was never formally trained in like business and entrepreneurship and stuff like that. And so I've been trying to figure out like how do we make a living at this work because I love this type of work, right? And when I moved to Seattle, shortly after I moved to Seattle, I was in Chicago. I met my husband, and after being in the fitness world for a while and teaching classes and being like, okay, this isn't quite working, we need something more, we started offering teacher trainings together, and we opened 2 brick and mortar studios in Seattle. So at one point, I was teaching yoga classes and leading yoga trainings, teaching barre classes, training my barre instructors at my studio, and running a couple studios. So I was just kind of like, bah, everywhere. And my husband was right there, helped with me along the way. We very much work as a team. And then at one point, like in November last year, so this is crazy. This is kind of like a full circle. November last year, Eric and I were like, I think it's time to sell the studios. Our studios were great, the classes were full, but we wanted to move on to something else, and we were just kind of getting burnt out with the physical demands of that work. So we sold our studios, and then, of course, in March, everything shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we moved to the online world, and essentially, like, we wanted to create the things that you get in the physical space, but online. So you get community, you get connection, you get like high quality. That's why we've invested in this stuff. Like high quality audio. You feel like you're looking someone in the eye, right? So we did that extra stuff to make it work. On the business end, honestly, like how we work together, Eric is kind of a jack of all trades. He does like web development and graphic design and photography and videography. And then I'm the communicator, right? Like I love to write and to market things. It's just really interesting to me. So I feel like I've had this skill to do this for a while, but I didn't know how to actually turn it into making money until I found your work. And when it just started taking off and people were, paying me, I was like, whoa, like, my aesthetics and my marketing and my interest in this meets this kind of formula and it works.
I love it. Yes. So let's talk about your Instagram because I am
Yeah,
looking at your profile and you currently have almost 8,000 followers. And
so close.
you so close. You're going to be at 10K really soon. I'm curious, before you joined Story Vault in April, which I believe is the first product of mine that you enrolled in, where were
Yeah,
you at before Story Vault with your Instagram strategy? How was it going for you?
yeah, yeah. Before Storyvault, I had a lot of Instagram failures. And I just want to be really honest with people about that because I sustained a yoga teacher training Instagram, my studio's Instagram, my personal Instagram, and like I was putting all this incredible content out there, like really thoughtful, really beautiful, like really intentional, and no one was responding. And then I remember, I think I had seen something you posted about stories and about selling on your stories, and I knew my story game was lacking. Like, I just didn't know how to make stories look good. I didn't know. I knew that more people were seeing my stories than my posts, but I really didn't know how to like leverage that. So honestly, I was kind of in a stagnant place before Story Vault, and when I got on Story Vault, I was, looking through the different tabs, and for someone who's been in the yoga industry, like we're kind of scared of salesy language, right? And
Mhm.
so I was like, kind of, I was like, oh man, these seem like very, simple, very straightforward, and I'm not used to marketing in that way, and like have a very clear, call to action. And so I was like, I'll just try it. And I tried some of the money makers, and then right away I was booking clients, booking people for our our classes. And then I would just test it out. Every time we had a class coming up, I'd say, okay, I'm going to just pick a different money maker on the Story Vault and see what happens. And so I picked a different one, and boom, my classes get full again. And so then nowadays, like how I use Story Vault is I literally have a schedule, and every week or every day of the week, I have a different part of the Story Vault that I'm using. So like On Mondays will be a visibility day. On Tuesdays will be a conversation day. On Wednesdays will be a money making day. You know, on Thursdays is a lead generator day. And I literally just cycle through it and it works. So it's
Yeah.
changed everything. That was like
Yeah.
the spark that like shifted us into the online world.
Amazing. Yeah, your first message to me was in July saying the money makers felt kind of salesy at first, but then you tried it out and they worked. And then, yeah, after that, you just kept reporting like, oh yeah, we've made $4,000 in revenue to date because of Instagram, and just kept growing from there.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you joined Instagrowth Boss, which is the full course in September. So whether it's between Story Vault, Instagrowth Boss, what were the top like 1 to 3 strategies that you really committed to for your Instagram to grow your business?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Story Vault, yeah, I would obviously say is number one, but off it's Story Vault paired with, I think it was another lecture you had done in Instagrowth. I'm blanking on where it is exactly, but you essentially taught us how to set up a story. You know, like it's a story. It has a beginning. You're telling people what they're getting into. It has a middle, like you give them the juice, and then it has an end, and the end always has a call to action. And then ideally, it uses one of Instagram's tools, a poll or something like that, or it has a call for a reply. So like that formula has really, 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 really worked. So I create a story and then I usually have some sort of button that they can push or interact with, or I ask them to reply. And then that leads to my second thing that has been really useful that I learned in Instagrowth was the DM strategy.
Mhm.
And how, I mean, I've been watching all of these accounts that I used to follow for a long time, just like their engagement is dropping like crazy. It's like going to through the floor, while mine is just like going up and up and up. My comments and my engagement is so much more than some of these accounts that have like, 100 times the following that I have. And I think it's from the DM strategy. And
Mhm.
so you told us about how Instagram and Facebook are optimizing relationships. So it's through authentic relationships that your clients will be able to see what you're putting out there. So when I have, that call to action and I'm asking people to reply, I'm on the other end, like engaging with them and building a relationship with them. So if I'm like, do you want to join the class? And I have a poll that says yes or send me the link, right? And they click send me the link. Then I send them a message and I say, hey, do you want me to send you the link to the class? And they're like either yes or they just don't respond, right? And they're like,
Mhm.
yes, I love that. And I say, awesome. Like, do you have any questions about it? Here's my class. Like, I'd love for you to join. And then now we have this dialogue and they can see what I'm posting more often because we have a relationship.
Mhm.
So the DM strategies has been huge for us. And then I think the last thing that I really got from Instagrowth, honestly, was creating a feed and a bio that was pointing or that would call in essentially my target market. So before I was, making it all about me, it's the Adrienne show. And then when I got clear on who I'm serving and what I'm providing, I started asking myself the questions that you posed to us, like, you know, what are scenes in these people's lives that they're used to seeing, right? How can they just glance at your Instagram and know if you're tailored to them or not? So I changed my feed from being one that was kind of, unclear visually to one that had like a color palette that elicits a certain feeling, to one that has like scenes of studios, because that's what my followers know. They know like being in studios, right? And teaching to students, like that's their world. So
Mhm.
I needed some pictures of that. And then also to clearly communicate I'm an online brand. I started using, you suggested a place for stock photos, and I went and grabbed some stock photos and put up some devices, because my services are online. So they need to know that, have some images of phones and laptops so that they're clear about what I do. So yeah, I'd say those three things like really helped me grow and helped
Mhm.
us, be clear.
Yeah, I'm looking at another DM you sent me in November where you did a lead generation story. You got over 150 poll responses and 32 signups for your free class. I mean,
Yes.
with only a couple thousand followers, well, you must have been over 5,000 at that time. That's a really great engagement rate. So it sounds like you have grown your account the right way in 2020 and into the future, which is quality over quantity. And that's why your
Mm-hmm.
engagement is so good and you're getting such a great response when you where you're seeing other big accounts kind of dropping in engagement because a lot of those old tactics aren't working. So I
Yep.
want to know from you, how did you kind of cultivate that deeper relationship with your followers so that they did become customers and clients in your business?
Yeah. Yeah, well, you talk about this in Insta growth as well, like the no trust like factor. And that when it's like this fine balance between offering products and services. I actually think that people like when you're really clear about what products and services you offer, because
Mm-hmm.
then they know what they're engaging with and they want to buy things from you, right? So being really clear about what you offer and who it's for creates a sense of trust. And I think that helps when I'm posting, but then also leading with value, which is something else that you talk about in Insta growth. Leading with value. So now when I'm posting, I'm saying things that are specifically tailored to my target market and what they want to hear and what they need to hear right now. Like it's timely, right? It's like right now, if I'm an instructor and I don't have a job and I don't know when studios will open again, what do I need to hear?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I think that creates this sense of trust, but then also creates like my target market feels like I know them, right? So that's one part of the equation. But then the next part is like engaging really genuinely with these people. When they send me a message, I'm not like, bam, buy from me. I'm more just talking to them just like I would if I were in a studio and a student walks in. I'm engaging with them as humans. And then I think that really showed itself. That authentic engagement really showed itself over Black Friday weekend for us because we had been engaging with people for months and months and months. They were interested in our services and interested in our products, but they hadn't committed. And then when the time came and everyone's online and everyone wants to spend money, we just did so well. And I think that week we ended up in the $45,000 range of sales that week because they thought about us and they felt like they knew us and they trusted our product. So, does that answer your question?
Absolutely. And it
Okay.
leads perfectly into the next question, which is the journey that you've been on this year to become a six-figure business. And
Mhm.
you know me, I love numbers. I love step by step. So, in your words, can you describe when did you start seeing sales to your business? When did it start to feel like it was working? And how did you hit six figures in less than a year?
Yeah, yeah. Woo. I feel like it's a perfect combination of several things. Like, I think a big part is obviously having a high quality product. And I know that you've been successful because you've done this. Like, have a high quality product that brings value to people. And with Eric's skill set and with all the things we've created, we have that.
Mhm.
But then there's this link that has to happen to the customer. Like they won't know how awesome it is unless you have this link. So having the marketing strategy, the Instagram marketing strategy, absolutely key to our success. But then also just having a sense of timing that I think a lot of people don't think about. because people don't want to, you know, trees don't bloom year round, right? There's a time where you incubate and you create more integrity and more relationship, and a time when you sell. And it kind of happens in like cycles. So so we, having been in the brick and mortar world of fitness, we know that there are seasons when people are ready to tune in, they're ready to grow, and there are seasons when people just kind of want to sit back and receive. So catching those timings are so important, like catching the Black Friday wave, so freaking important. Like if you miss that wave, it's gone. You know, you can't like suddenly do $45,000 in sales in March when people were ready in the Black Friday area. So I think those three things come together. But then as far as a step-by-step process goes, I think something that really has worked for us is, and you teach this in Insta Growth as well, paying attention to what people need and want and what they're asking from you, and not necessarily your plan for what you're going to give to them, right? So our plan was, offer classes and offer training, but then we had all these people saying, hey, I want to know this about you. Like, how do you create an incredible live stream? And like, how do you teach anatomy that well? And like, how do you blah, 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 blah. So Eric and I have been agile and like, okay, we'll create a new course for that, or we'll create a new resource for that. Or that's the value I give. It's like they're asking these questions, and that's the value I get. So I think that's the big piece, is like slowly building. And I wish it were what people say and that it's easy. But it's not necessarily easy. Like we have to be on all the time. Like we're thinking strategically, we're engaging every single day. And we're planting seeds now that we, like this Black Friday, we planted seeds. People were interested, but they didn't buy. So we planted seeds, and we're going to cultivate those relationships. And then by next Black Friday, we might have even bigger sales. Mm-hmm. So taking that long view, I think, has helped us, and trust the process.
Mm-hmm. No, I love how that was so step by step and in depth in terms of revenue, because when you mentioned to me in the DMs that a lot of your success this year is from your Instagram efforts. When did you first start seeing sales from Instagram? What were the numbers, and how did you get to the 6-figure mark?
Yeah. So I also just want to mention real quick that in my industry, people have to really love your class before they're going to commit to taking a training or taking a course from you. So that's similar to the studio model. So we started with classes, and on March 27th, it's a day that sticks in my mind, we had our very first class. And at our very first online class, we made, what, love? Over $600? Our very first online class, we made over $600. Why that's a big deal is because us fitness teachers, we teach a class for $35. Mm-hmm. We teach an in-person class that we drive to, and it takes, 4 hours of our time, start to finish, for $35. So the fact that we could lead a live in-person class in our first time makes $600 was just like, what? So then we set it up so that we wanted to create a consistent offering, right? Because we want to be the people that others think about when they're like, oh, I want to take a class. Who do I know always does this that I can rely on? So we just created a weekly class, one class. And then it slowly grew, and now easily we can make $1,000 per class that we teach, which is nuts for fitness teachers, nuts. But anyway, so we were kind of building this relationship and this connection to our students, and then we were teasing people along the way, like, hey, would you be interested in a bar teacher training course? And people were like, yes, give it to me. I want it, right? So we teased that out until we were ready to start pre-selling our course. And we started pre-selling our course in June. And I think by this point, you might have my graph right there, but in June, we sold like 40 courses, 40 courses, like straight out the gate. And that was a huge surprise to us. We didn't think it'd be that big because in the in-person world, the biggest our trainings ever got were like 14 people. And they were half the price. so so we were like, okay, the prices, we've increased the price, and like we have over doubled our number of students in the very first course offering we had. So then from there, and I think I messaged you about this, we were like, okay, but how do we do these continual launches? You know, like now we have this evergreen product, our classes and our course. How do we keep people coming back and keep the sales up? And what we realized is that it's also better for our course if we close registration once in a while, because then we have a collection of people all starting at the same time. They network with each other. We have like network components to it. So then we decided, all right, we are going to offer our weekly classes, but we're going to close registration, you know, after keeping it open for like a month. So we keep it open and we close it for a month. And on those months we close it, we just resource, like we build relationships, we give value, we kind of, you know, warm our audience up and get to know them. And then when we have our next sale, then we have another spike.
Mm.
So leading up to Black Friday, we had probably a 2 month lag, almost a 2 month lag, where we were not pushing our course, right? And our course was priced really high because that's the cost of it, right? So our course was priced high, we weren't pushing it, and we were just growing our relationships. And then when we were like, hey, like we're almost cutting our course price in half, people just responded super big to that.
Hmm. And that was your $40,000 weekend.
Yes.
I love it. Yes, I have the graph in front of me. The spikes are incredible, where you show where you started your Instagram account, when the live stream classes started, when you launched your course, and then the incredible Black Friday weekend. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you've just done so well and still continue to do so well with your organic growth and really focusing on relationships, because that's what Instagram is. It's an
That's what it
amazing marketing
is.
tool, but it's a relationship platform. So, for any of your fellow fitness entrepreneurs watching this or learning about you, do you have any advice you would give to them?
Yeah, for sure. First, I would say it is possible to make a lot more money online than you were making in person, and, and to not be afraid to jump into the online world, because uh, your clients want you. They want you. It's like when you have a good fitness teacher, it's like having a good hairdresser. You just go out of your way to learn from that person. So they want you. But then the big piece of advice I would offer is to do it as high quality as possible. And that doesn't mean you have to do it the way we're doing it. Like we have professional cameras and you don't have to do that. You know, you just need some good lighting and a smart device. Look up a couple videos on how to make your audio good and your picture good, and do it with the means you have, but as high quality as possible, because that's what's standing out right now. Because everyone's teaching online and they're doing it at with very low budgets and also with very low quality. So yeah, I think that would be my main advice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Adrienne, for sharing your knowledge and your experience. I know
Thank
this will
you.
be very helpful to many, many people. So thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Awesome.